Hello there, you're watching Nightline. I'm Anita. News making the headlines. 3 killed in 3-vehicle collision near Kota Tinggi. And Tamanna clinches Singapore presidency. We begin with our headlining story. 3 friends, 2 women and a man were killed while another woman was severely hurt after the Perodua Beza they were travelling in was involved in a crash with a Toyota Innova and a Volkswagen car near Kota Tinggi, Johor on Saturday. The incident occurred on the Senai Desaro Expressway when the victims, all college students, were heading towards Bandar Penawa at 1:43 p.m. Bandar Penawa Fire and Rescue Station Operations Commander Iswani Abdul Hamid said the 3 deceased were identified as 20-year-old Iqbal Faiz Matsah, 19-year-old Nurul Afrarina Sazli and 19-year-old Nurina Izzati Kamarul Zaman. Another passenger in the same car, 19-year-old Isno Harith, survived the crash but sustained serious injuries. Firemen who rushed to the scene after being alerted to the incident had to use special tools to extricate the victims who were pinned in the Beza. 3 other people aged 11 to 51 who were travelling in the Innova only suffered minor injuries, while a 50-year-old man who was driving the Volkswagen car walked away unhurt. The bodies as well as the injured victims were then taken to the Kota Tinggi hospital. The cause of the accident is being investigated under the Road Transport Act. The 6 members of a family who were killed in a horrific accident near Taman Yayasan Segamat on Friday have been laid to rest in their hometown in Parit Jawa, Johor. All of the victims' remains were buried together in a single grave at the Ubudiyah Muslim Cemetery at about 4:50 p.m. on Saturday. A solemn mood enveloped the air as the hearses carrying the bodies of the 6 victims, 46-year-old Amiruddin Ismail, his wife, 43-year-old Norahimah Nur Muhammad, as well as their 4 children, 17-year-old Fatimul Zahra, 13-year-old Sri Khatijah Akilah, 10-year-old Rufaidatul Ashariyah, and 5-year-old Muhammad Ashak Rawi, arrived at the Ubudiyah Mosque from Segamat Hospital at about 3 p.m. The couple's elder son, 19-year-old Abdul Rahman, then led the funeral prayer, accompanied by more than 500 people. The funeral was also attended by relatives and acquaintances who paid their last respects. The 6:37 p.m. crash on Jalan Segamat Kuantan involved 5 vehicles, namely a lorry, a Honda HR-V, a Protonwira, a Perodua Beza and the ill-fated Perodua Alza carrying the family. 5 of the victims died at the scene, while the couple's youngest son, Muhammad Ashak Rawi, succumbed to his injuries on the way to the hospital. Their other son, 15-year-old Abdullah, is still in critical condition at the Segamat Hospital Intensive Care Unit. The accident was believed to have occurred when the lorry laden with sand went out of control and skidded onto the opposite lane when it tried to avoid hitting the Honda HR-V, which had slowed down due to road repair works, before colliding with the Perodua Alza carrying the family. All rice millers and wholesalers have agreed to increase the supply of local white rice by 20% through the Local White Rice Special Programme. The Agriculture and Food Security Ministry said the move was one of the intervention measures taken to restore supply in the market. In a statement on Saturday, the ministry said that the request had been agreed upon by rice millers and wholesalers in a joint engagement session held on August 27th in Alostar, Kedah. Through the Local White Rice Special Programme, Padi Beras Nasional Berhad Bernas will give additional quota to Bumiputra wholesalers to increase the country's supply. The price of local white rice has remained at the controlled price of RM2.60 per kilogram since 2008, the lowest price in the region, ahead of Thailand, which sells the commodity at a price of RM2.70 per kilogram, whereas in Cambodia it is at RM3.20 per kilogram. A 2024 budget dialogue session between the ministry and industry players, as well as stakeholders under the rice subsector, will also be held at the Serdang Malaysia Agricultural Expo Park, MAEPS, Serdang on September 7th. The session aims to get input and views from industry players on methods to increase local white rice production. Meanwhile, the Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry, KPDN, will continue its enforcement and monitoring efforts to ensure sufficient supply of local white rice in the market. Its Secretary-General, Dato' Azman Muhammad Yusof, said the minister is also working with the Agriculture and Food Security Ministry to curb the issue of switching white rice labels, which is expected to become more rampant following the price hike for imported white rice.
Kerjasama ni daripada dulu lagi kita dah buat. Sekiranya ada lapor kepada kita Jangan buatlah satu statement yang very umum. Kita nakkan spesifik kedai mana, di kawasan mana. InsyaAllah saya secara peribadi akan terus ataupun secara officialnya akan terus mengarahkan pihak penguasa kita membantu pihak KPKM mendapatkan maklumat dan kita akan minta mereka mentindakan tindakan sewajarnya lah.
He added that KPDN has issued warnings to individuals or companies against changing the packaging or label of local rice and selling it in the market as imported rice to reap a huge profit. Individuals found to have committed the offence under the Trade Descriptions Act could be fined up to 100,000 ringgit or imprisoned for not more than 3 years, or both, while companies could be fined up to 250,000 ringgit. On Friday, Bernas announced it had raised the price of imported white rice at all its warehouses nationwide by 36% from 2,350 ringgit per tonne to 3,200 ringgit per tonne, effective immediately. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Rayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah wants all parties to focus on the implementation of economic structural reforms and increase competitiveness. This is to ensure a more inclusive, stronger and sustainable economic growth for Malaysia. In a statement, Controller of the Royal Household of Istana Negara, Major General Datuk Zahari Muhammad Arifin said Al-Sultan Abdullah and Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Azizah Aminah Maimunah Iskandariyah have expressed hope that the national economy would continue to grow and prayed that the people would continue to be blessed with better sustenance. The statement added that the King took note of the state of Malaysia's economy, which is growing at a rate of 4.2% in the first half of 2023, despite facing slower global economic and trade growth conditions. This development was supported by strong household spending, following a stronger labour market and income, in addition to the implementation of new and existing investment projects. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong also noted that the unemployment rate was down to 3.4% in June 2023, while overall and core inflation continued to decrease in the second quarter of this year. Al-Sultan Abdullah also touched on the development of the Islamic financial sector, which has contributed to the economic progress and socio-economic development of the country, and expressed gratitude for the development of the iTekat initiative in helping the vulnerable. To date, iTekat, which has the support of 11 financial institutions and nearly 60 implementing partners, has benefited 3,000 low-income micro-entrepreneurs, especially the Asnaf Group. On Friday, Al-Sultan Abdullah consented to an audience with Bank Negara Malaysia Governor Datuk Abdul Rashid Ghaffur and his deputy Datuk Jessica Chu Cheng Lian at Istana Negara for a briefing on current developments of the country's economy. The King also received a briefing regarding the stability of the ringgit, inflation, progress of the Islamic financial ecosystem, value-based intermediation and social finance programs, in particular iTekat. Voters, including UMNO members, are urged not to be influenced by calls from irresponsible parties to boycott the Pulai Parliamentary and Simpang Jeram state by-elections on September 9th. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi also called on voters to give their full backing to the unity government's candidate to stabilise the state government in Johor as well as at the federal level.
Saya yakin Datuk Seri Khalid dengan seluruh jentera UMNO dan BN dan juga Yang Berhormat MB Johor telah memobilisasikan semua jentera termasuk jentera penerangan untuk menolak kekeliruan itu jika masih ada di kalangan pengundi-pengundi Melayu, khususnya pengundi-pengundi UMNO.
Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid, who is also Barisan Nasional Chairman, also said he does not want voters in the by-election this time to fall for the opposition's propaganda, which is trying to confuse the public using the 3R issues of race, religion and royalty, especially among the Malay constituents in the two by-elections. Commenting on the issue of cooperation between BN and DAP, which is frequently played up by the opposition during campaigns, Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid said the opposition should realise that they too once did the same thing. The Pulai Parliamentary and Simpang Jeram state by-elections are being held following the death of its incumbent Domestic Trade and Costs of Living Minister, Datuk Seri Salahuddin Ayub, on July 23rd. Election petitions to annul the results of 4 seats won by Perikatan Nasional, PN, in the Selangor state election last month will be filed soon. According to Selangor Menteri Besar, Datuk Seri Amiruddin Shari, the petitions were being fine-tuned. Datuk Seri Amiruddin, who is also the Selangor Pakatan Harapan PH chairman, said the matter had been discussed in a meeting of the Political Bureau and the State Leadership Council with a team of lawyers who would do further research on the cases involving the 4 seats. Earlier, the Election Commission, EC, had announced that the results and voting statements after the official tallying of the state election votes in 6 states had been gazetted on August 29th. Prior to this, PH and Barisan Nasional, BN, were considering filing election petitions to annul the results of the Sungai Kandis, Taman Medan, Gombak Setia and Dengkil state seats, where the victory margins were low. The results for the 4 seats saw PH and BN lose by 407 votes in Dengkil, 167 votes in Sungai Kandis, 58 votes in Gombak Setia and 30 votes in Taman Medan. Sarawak Premier Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg has dismissed Works Minister Datuk Sri Alexander Nantalinggi's suggestion for the state to introduce its own currency. He said the matter was just Datuk Sri Nanta's personal opinion and would require a comprehensive study for it to be considered.
Yang itu very complicated issue. So itu tak tahulah dia pandangan Nanta lah, Nanta tinggi. We have to study in detail. Kita dah ada Malaysian currency, kita ikut Malaysian currency lah.
Tan Sri Abang Johari said this to the media after launching the Sarawak Level 2023 National Anti-Scam Tour Program in Kuching. In a podcast to mark National Day and Malaysia Day that was released on Friday, Nanta hinted at the possibility of Sarawak introducing its own currency. Citing a report by FMT, the Works Minister said the introduction of Sarawak's currency could be considered as one of the measures if Malaysia's economic situation, which is not doing well, continues. The Youth and Sports Ministry, KBS, is working to include sports training fees in the list of lifestyle tax relief through the 2024 budget. Its Minister Hannah Yeoh said the ministry was in the midst of requesting the exemption from the Finance Ministry, MOF, to help develop the sports industry. She added the engagement session with the MOF on the matter was still ongoing and her ministry was focusing on applying for tax relief for parents or individuals who spend on sports training. Yeoh pointed out, aside from promoting a healthy lifestyle among Malaysians, the objective was also to encourage children to participate in sports training from a young age. She further said that the move will also help provide job opportunities for athletes if many people use sports training services. Based on the amendment to the Sports Development Act, so far, only the purchase of sports equipment would be tax exempted effective next year, which would benefit all 103 types of sports. Up next, Thailand's king endorses new cabinet lineup. News from the foreign front right after this breather. See you after the break. Singapore's former Deputy Prime Minister Tharman Shanmugaratnam won Friday's presidential race in a landslide, replacing incumbent Halimah Yaakob, who ran unopposed for her 6-year term in 2017. The official results were announced by the Elections Department, ELD, slightly after midnight, and the outcome was not far from the sample count results that were announced earlier at about 10:45 p.m. local time on Friday. According to the ELD, Tamanna scored a big win with 70.4% of the votes, while Ang Kok Song and Tan Kin Lian received 15.72% and 13.88% respectively. Tamanna had previously resigned as a member of the ruling People's Action Party, PAP, and as a senior minister in the cabinet ahead of the election, as all presidential candidates must be independent. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, in the meantime, said he had every confidence that Tamanna would carry out his duties as president with distinction, as he has a long and distinguished record of public service. Lee noted that as head of state, Tamanna will represent Singapore at home and abroad, as well as exercise custodial powers, including over the reserves and key appointments. Thailand's new Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin was named Finance Minister on Saturday in a cabinet that was endorsed by the King as the real estate tycoon seeks to boost the country's economy by implementing key campaign promises. This new cabinet, disclosed in a Royal Gazette and endorsed by King Maha Vajiralongkorn, will see Srettha's Pheu Thai party oversee the defence, transport, commerce, health and the foreign ministry portfolios. Its largest coalition partner, Boom Jai Thai, will oversee the education, interior and labour ministries, while Conservative and pro-military parties will lead the energy and environment ministries. Srettha and his cabinet of 33 ministers will swear an oath before an audience with the King, then deliver a policy statement in Parliament before they start work this month. According to Srettha, the first cabinet meeting would tackle cost of living problems by reducing electricity and gas prices and relaxing visa entry rules for Chinese arrivals in order to boost tourism. Typhoon Salah has made landfall in the southern Chinese province of Guangdong on Saturday as violent winds lashed nearby Shenzhen, Hong Kong and Macau, leaving at least one dead and a trail of destruction and flooding in many areas. The super typhoon, packing winds of more than 200 kilometers per hour, had forced some 900,000 people to leave areas at risk in Guangdong and Fujian provinces. However, as southern China's coastal areas braced for the storm's arrival, Salah was downgraded before dawn on Saturday after the typhoon passed Hong Kong without the much-feared direct hit on the financial hub before weakening. Nevertheless, authorities warned that Salah will continue to affect the region due to strong winds and rains, saying members of the public were still advised to remain inside. In Hong Kong, it was reported that more than 500 people sought refuge in government shelters, with over than 50 people being admitted to hospitals due to the typhoon. Seoul's military on Saturday said North Korea has fired multiple cruise missiles towards the sea off the west coast of the Korean peninsula, the latest in a string of recent Pyongyang military actions. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff in a statement said details of the latest launches at approximately 4 a.m. local time on Saturday are being analysed by the South Korean and United States intelligence authorities. It also said that the country has boosted its surveillance posture and maintains a firm military readiness and close coordination with the US. The launches early on Saturday morning followed just days after Pyongyang launched 2 ballistic missiles into waters off its east coast in what is described as a simulated nuclear strike on targets in South Korea. Heidenheim holds stunned Dortmund after late penalty drama. Sports when we return. See you after the break. 2 goals down to draw 2-2 at Borussia Dortmund after a controversial and bizarre late penalty decision. The hosts looked in full control early, taking a commanding lead in just 15 minutes when Julian Brandt flicked the ball into the top corner before captain Emre Can doubled their lead 8 minutes later with a well-struck penalty following a handball. The visitors, however, came firing back in the second half after Eran Dingchi pulled a goal back with just over an hour on the clock. The pressure paid off in the 81st minute for Heidenheim when they earned a spot kick following a defending error from Dortmund striker Sebastian Haller. The result leaves Dortmund 6th in the standings, while Frank Schmidt's side earned their first point of the season at 13th place. Turning to tennis now, the 2023 US Open. Second seed Novak Djokovic scored a memorable comeback in the third round against Laslo Djere to keep his hopes alive for a record-extending 24th major title. Djokovic recovered from 2 sets to love down for the 8th time in his career, clawing past his countrymen 4-6, 4-6, 6-1, 6-1, 6-3 after 3 hours and 45 minutes. The Serbian, ranked number 2 currently, but guaranteed of returning back to the top spot at the end of the fortnight, will play Croatian qualifier Borna Gojo next. Joining him is Taylor Fritz, who continued his bone-crushing run through the first week, gate-crashing the 18th birthday of Czech Jakub Mensik with a 6-1, 6-2, 6-love win at the Louis Armstrong Stadium. Fritz has reached the last 16 at Flushing Meadows for the first time in 8 appearances, dropping just 13 games en route. The world number 9 will next play Swiss Dominik Stryka in the next round. In another match, number 10 seed Francis Tiafoe defeated Adrien Manarino 4-6, 6-2, 6-3, 7-6 in nearly 3 hours to reach round of 16. For a place in the quarterfinals, the 25-year-old will face Australia's Rinky Hijikata. Still to come on Nightline, man burnt to death after LPG cylinder explodes. Don't go away. Man was believed to have died after a liquefied petroleum gas or LPG cylinder placed inside his bedroom exploded in Siburan on Saturday. The incident occurred on the 4th floor of an RPR apartment in Batugong at 11 a.m. The State Fire and Rescue Department spokesperson said the explosion also caused a fire which totally destroyed the bedroom. It was believed that the victim was alone inside the apartment unit when the blast occurred. Firefighters from the Siburan and Batulintang fire stations rushed to the scene after receiving a distress call on the incident and managed to bring the fire under control at 11:20 a.m. The victim's remains were later taken to Sarawak General Hospital for post-mortem. A woman was also treated for cuts to her hands caused by flying debris from the explosion. The cause of the incident and amount of losses are still being investigated. Over in Selangor, 5 more men have been arrested in connection with the recent fatal shooting of a man in Kapar Klang, bringing the total number of suspects to 6. North Klang Police Chief Assistant Commissioner S. Vijaya Rao said all the suspects aged between 30 and 40 were detained around Kapar between 11 p.m. on Friday and 5 a.m. on Saturday. According to Vijaya Rao, all 6 suspects have been remanded until Tuesday to assist police investigations into the murder case. He added that the motive behind the incident has yet to be ascertained. Previously, it was reported that a man in his 20s had been arrested on Friday in connection with the shooting incident. On Wednesday, a 36-year-old man with 12 previous criminal records relating to drugs and violent crimes was found dead with gunshot wounds in front of a shop along Jalan Hamzah Alang. A video also went viral on social media showing the victim lying on the ground next to a crashed motorcycle. Over in Sabah, 10 students of a secondary school in Ranau have been detained by police in connection with an alleged bullying case after a video clip of the incident went viral on social media since Friday. It was believed that several students were assaulted by another group of students after the victims were allegedly caught vaping in the school's hostel. According to Ranau Police Chief, Deputy Superintendent Simiun Lomudin, 5 of the students were arrested on Friday, while another 5 were nabbed on Saturday to assist police investigations into the case. He added that the 10 suspects, aged between 15 and 17, would be released from police custody after authorities have concluded the probe into the incident, which occurred on August 3rd. Based on initial investigations, it was believed that the victims had angered the suspects as the vaping incident had caused inconvenience for other students staying at the hostel. In the 5-minute, 34-second viral video, several students were seen being slapped and punched by another group of students, which drew the ire of netizens. The case is being investigated under the Penal Code for rioting and criminal intimidation. As Nightline draws to a close this time around, let's take a look as a Hungarian power plant comes back to life, powered by music and light shows, with thousands of festival goers marvelling at its 3 huge cooling towers illuminating the late summer sky. With that, I'm Anita. Thank you for watching and have a restful Sunday ahead.